As most of you know, we've been planning a church plant in Haiti for a number of years now. We planned it for 2020, then it got postponed to 2021, then it got postponed again to 2022. And these postponements were outside of our control. But we're ready now. And over this past year, God has provided a Haitian pastor to lead this new plant, Pastor Patrice, which just confirms that God's timing is always perfect. Now, back in the fall when we were thinking about 2022 and this church plant in Haiti, I felt this strong prompting from the Lord that God wanted us to have both an international and a local component to this expansion of vision and season of fruitfulness and growth. You see, one of the long-time connections Grace Gathering has had is a relationship with churches and pastors in the southeast side of Fort Wayne. It actually started with my predecessor, Gordon Smith, in the late 80s and early 90s. He had a relationship with Pastor Otha Aiden. Our two congregations did many things together, and racial reconciliation was a big theme, even having John Perkins come to Fort Wayne in 1995 to have this massive citywide reconciliation tent crusade. I'll never forget it. That vision of grace connecting with the southeast side of Fort Wayne has never died. It's had different expressions throughout the years, but none as strong as we have today, now that we've planted Grace Gathering Central back in 2018 in South Central Fort Wayne with Steve and Stephanie Terry, who leads Grace Gathering Central as well as leads New Life Church of God in their building on McKee Street, right off Pontiac. And oh, by the way, that building on McKee Street, where both congregations now meet, is the building Emmanuel Baptist built back in 1925. And Emmanuel Baptist was the church that planted 13 different churches in our city and region, Grace Gathering being one of them. Black Hawk Ministries, Wallen Baptist, and a number of them. And this relationship between Grace Gathering and now New Life, as Steve and Stephanie lead both these congregations, continues to grow and develop. And there's been a dream for many years to build a community center right there on the land on McKee Street, next to the building, what Steve calls a family training center, where there'll be after-school programs, tutoring, mentoring, and parenting university. It would be a transformative place for the Oxford neighborhood there in the 06 neighborhood. And so this fall, I felt the Lord say to me, while you raise the funds for a Haiti church plant with this international focus, have a dual focus and complement that initiative here with a local initiative. With this long-standing relationship between Grace Gathering and the southeast side of Fort Wayne, and help build this family training center where Grace Gathering Central and New Life are ministering together. And so after a lot of prayer, a lot of discussion with Steve and Stephanie Terry, a lot of discussions with the elders, and even discussions with New Life and the Grace Gathering elders together, we have decided that our financial campaign that's going to begin the Sunday after Easter for 4 weeks will actually have two areas of focus. Number one, the Haiti church plant, and number two, the family training center in the 06 neighborhood that will be jointly owned by New Life and Grace Gathering together. And New Life is going to participate in this financial stewardship campaign with us. And so on the Sunday after Easter, April 24th, we're going to go through a journey together lasting 4 weeks where we'll ask every attender of Grace Gathering to spend time seeking the Lord and consider making an 18-month financial pledge at the end of those 4 weeks, where half of those funds will go to the Haiti plant and half will go to the Family Training Center. And the pledge we will encourage you to consider will have 2 components to it. A sight portion based on what you feel God would call you to give over the course of those 18 months that you can see. And then a faith portion, which is what you believe God may provide somehow during those 18 months that's unknown, that you can't see today. And if He provides that faith portion, you give it. And if He doesn't provide it, you don't give it. Now, if you don't know, Grace Gathering has gone through a total of 4 of these stewardship journeys. And they have been some of the most exciting times in the history of our church. And while God has provided financially in all of them in miraculous ways, the focus has never been about money or fundraising. It was always, and including this time will always be, has always been about a spiritual journey seeing God move. There are so many amazing stories, God stories, that have taken place over these stewardship journeys. And if you've never been a part of one of these experiences, you are in for an incredible treat from the Lord. Kathy and I have stories from these journeys of faith that still impact us today in significant ways. And you're going to hear some of those stories from us and some of those stories from other members of the church. And all of you are going to have your own stories on the other side. And they will be incredible. And so 4 weeks, starting the Sunday after Easter, that will end with these 18-month financial pledges. And we'll call this, For the Sake of Others, a spiritual journey of faith and sacrifice. Both the Haiti plant and the Family Training Center will be for the sake of others. And as we think about John 15 of pruning and growth, it's going to be directly tied to staying connected to the vine, staying connected to Jesus, and watching Him bring us into this season of fruitfulness and growth and expansion. And I hope that over these last 2 years, as difficult as it's been, I hope that as we move forward as a church family, that every one of you will be a part of what God has planned for us as a congregation as we move into this new season. It is going to be so exciting.